Chris and Company rolls on. We continue once again with another episode. Thank you very much for joining the program. Interesting show coming up today. We have an interview with Noah Fisher, and you might not know the name. Maybe you don't even know the face, but you have probably seen him in some capacity if you follow baseball TikTok or baseball social media. Noah is a member of the Party Animals, which is the team that often goes up against the Savannah Bananas. You've definitely seen the Savannah Bananas. They are a social media sensation. It's kind of a Harlem Globetrotters, Washington Generals kind of relationship. And this was an interesting interview to book because I feel like there's kind of a mystique to that league. It's just one of those things that people have seen on social media. And I think a lot of us have kind of asked, what the hell is this? So it'll be interesting to kind of peel back that curtain and have a discussion with him about that. Before we get to the interview, though, just letting people know you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share this with your friends. Hit that bell if you want to be notified every time that I upload a video to this beautiful site that is YouTube. You can find me on Twitter at Castellani 2014. We're continuing to try to grow this brand, and it's a very slow process, but I think we have the schedule right now. Austin and I are working. We're working pretty hard to try to put out the best product that we can. We're talking on a daily basis, and we're continuing to try to grow. And a big part of that will be your support, which has always been so incredibly meaningful to all of us. So I appreciate that in advance. All right, I think we got it out of the way in record time. So let's just go ahead and jump right to our interview with Noah Fisher. Chris and Company continues, and as we set up with the intro there, we are joined today by Noah Fisher, and he is a member of the Party Animals. And for people, it's one of those things. It's going to be tough to explain because it's an instance where I've seen you be viral, and I've seen this league be viral, but it's one of those things I think has this mystique to it that just kind of existed. It was not like it just kind of fell out of thin air, and all of a sudden you're seeing it get, 6-figure views on TikTok or more. So we are going to jump into that, but first I kind of want to start with your story and how this came about. And I saw on your Facebook page that you're from Michigan. This is a Detroit-based I'm a Detroit-based content creator. Did you grow up a Tigers fan? Just out of curiosity.
I'm a Tigers fan. Actually, we get this on the camera here.
That is glorious. That is glorious. Now,
Tigers for life, baby. Yeah.
We're recording this on September 10th, so they've probably played another week of baseball by the time this is uploaded. But I mean, right now they're 3 games back of a playoff spot. I mean, have you been pretty surprised, pretty excited to see this little run that they've been on?
It's been a great little period of time for Detroit sports.
Yeah.
I was sweating bullets with some of our guys the other day watching the Rams game. Oh my God.
Where were you for that?
We were in Des Moines the other night. So we were done with all of our games. And it was Sunday night, and we all just went to hang out, play some pool, and I'm sitting there just sweating bullets watching this game. And we had no right winning that. No right whatsoever. I mean, I'm a diehard Michigan fan too, so like
same.
Obviously that just hurt my soul. So to see a little bit of a glimpse of hope was good. But
yeah, we needed that weekend to be salvaged in some capacity. I mean, with Michigan football, I'm still at a point, and we'll see how long this lasts. But like, I'm still riding the wave from last year and really kind of the last 3 years that like the Texas loss was bad, but it's hard for me to be like enraged, angry the way that I have been over certain losses in the past, just because I still feel it. Like but we'll see at some point that'll wear off. I don't know what loss it'll be. But yeah, I mean, it was you're right. And that was the one takeaway with the Lions is like, hey, they won that game. They didn't play very well. I mean, they made a lot of
No,
mistakes.
no.
Stafford played great. Like they made the money plays what mattered, and then obviously winning the coin toss definitely helped. But that's great to hear. I'm sure the people who are listening to this podcast, you just gained a lot more fans based on the fact that you are a Detroit-based guy. But with this league that you're in, and for people who don't know, people who have seen the Savannah Bananas on the internet and they've seen the games that they've played, and obviously your team is the Party Animals. But I'm just curious because this is such a unconventional way to get into professional baseball. I know that you played baseball in college, but how did this particular endeavor come about? This might be kind of a strange word, but like, did you have to audition to find your way in?
So I had a cup of coffee in pro ball.
Okay.
That's how I like to describe it. I got done with my college season, played in the MLB Draft League, which was a highly competitive league leading up to the MLB Draft. Nothing from that panned out. And then I just come off the best college season. I had the best summer ball the year before. So I'm like, dude, I feel unbelievable. So I want to keep playing. Made a big post on Twitter, stats, highlights, all this stuff. Went to the Atlantic League because I think it was 3 days later. I got a phone call from the Gateway Grizzlies in the Frontier League, if anybody knows them. Was with them for about a sip of coffee. And then once that was done, had a couple at bats there. They were making a playoff push and they wanted to sign a veteran guy. I was the newest rookie on contract. So I essentially got traded to Staten Island because they needed another infielder. So I went up to Staten Island for the Ferry Hawks in the Atlantic League. And then it was, I think we played against the Bananas. It was either like July 29th or August 1st, something around that time. We had come off of a 6-game road bender at 9 a.m, the day of the Savannah Bananas game. And a lot of the veteran guys weren't playing in that. So like all the younger guys essentially were due to play that game. I wanted to because I heard about them, loved what they were doing. I thought it was awesome. But we were taking naps in the media room because we had got off the bus at 9 a.m. and we were set to play them, I think it was like 7 p.m., 6:35, something like that. Played in that game, and they loved my look. They loved how I went about the game. So I think it was 2 weeks later, Barry Aldridge and Bryson Wheeler, Bryson's no longer with us in the organization here, but Barry's our head recruiting guy, and he's the one that DM'd me through Instagram saying, hey, love your look, love how you play the game, blah, blah, blah. We're doing 4 tryouts in the fall in, I think it was Daytona Beach, Houston, Los Angeles, and Phoenix, Arizona. Timed up perfectly because once my pro ball season was done, I was moving out to Arizona to move in with my girlfriend. So I told him, like, hey, I'll be out in Arizona by September 30th, something like that. And the tryout there was October 14th. So he's like, you got it. You're there. If you can put together like a little video just so like I can send it to Jesse and some of the other higher ups here just to show them who you are and all this and that. So I made like a highlight video. I can play guitar a little bit, and I just jumbled a bunch of stuff together, threw it together in like, I think it was CapCut. That's what I use now all the time for editing stuff. But sent it to him, went to that tryout, and it felt like an audition, like a full scale. We showed up at 9 a.m. And I don't know if you've seen like our main dance that we do 4 times throughout the game, but it's Hey Baby. So we do Hey Baby. They taught us that first, and then they taught us the kick line that we do for the anthem right after the anthem's done. And they were pretty much just seeing how fast guys can like pick up on it, have rhythm, and learn it, and do it with flair, not just do it to do it. But did that, and then went into defensive evaluations, just essentially an unbelievable amount of trick plays. Like try the weirdest stuff that you could. Like be crazy. You're not really trying to be clean and perfect because we know it's not how it's going to be, but we want to see how creative you can be and see if you can pull these off after trying them a couple times. And then after that was just normal hitting. We just hit in the cage, BP, all that stuff. And we had a full scale, I think it ended up being like an hour and a half, hour 45 minute, like banana ball game. We only had like 20 guys there in total. We had about, I think, 11 or 12 position players and like 8 pitchers. So we went in rotations of 5 guys for the field players. You were pretty much in the field for 5 batters, and then you would go get your at bats, and you would get like 1 or 2 at bats, and then it would just rotate over and over and over again. And we were just playing by the rules, trying trick plays, trying to hit barrels, and it was, I kid you not, that was probably the most sore that I've ever been in my entire life after a workout or anything. Like, all jokes aside, I was so exhausted. So exhausted.
Yeah.
I respected those guys so much after it was all said and done, but I had an unreal day. I think I went like 4 for 5, 3 doubles, like a bunch of walks, like just a bunch of trick plays. Like, I just had a day. And it was 9 days later that I got a call from Barry and Vava, who is my coach for the Party Animals, offering me a contract. And it was such an easy decision because I'd played pro ball, and I felt like I was playing it for the wrong reason. I was playing it just to get signed and kind of just tell people like I got signed by X organization.
Yeah.
But it's felt like I actually have more of a purpose now playing the game versus what I was going after, for sure.
That was going to be my next question is, do you feel it? Because that's a pretty rigorous process that you just described, man. I mean, with you, I totally understand you being sore afterwards. Do you feel like this whole experience is, to a certain extent, kind of revigorated your love for the game?
Oh, 100%. There were days that I was dreading going to the ballpark in Gateway and Staten Island. Like, I love those guys, and I love the game, especially because I just come off of like such a good season that you have that spark because of success and everything else going well. But when you hit those rough patches, that's when you start to like really dive deep within about, okay, what am I really doing this for? And deep down, I realized like I'm doing this just to get signed. Like, I'm away from loved ones, family, friends, everybody, making no money at all. Like, rookie pay is terrible. And I'm doing this just for like that accolade. And then I thought, I'm like, okay, what happens if that accolade happens? I'm going to ride that high for a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then it's going to go right back to square one where like you have no leeway. If you're one of those signs out of indie ball, or even just like a 19th, 20th round sign, 5th year out of college, you have no leeway. If you're in the farm system or the farm league for 20, 30 at bats, and you don't show a glimpse of, okay, like he can produce here, you're gone. Yeah. So I think I just realized that I was doing it for the wrong reasons. And now it's just, I love going to the field. Like, I love thinking of content stuff. I never was a content guy. I got into it a little bit when I was up in Staten Island. I kind of just tested stuff out here and there. I did 75 hard. It was like a fitness challenge a while back. And I like messed with it there. They were, oh my God, they were terrible videos. I go back and I laugh at them because they're just, the editing, like the angles, they were so bad. And it's hilarious seeing like where it's gone to now. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just, I feel like I just have a new drive to go to the ballpark and just come up with new ideas and everything. So it's been so much fun.
That's great to hear. And it's so true about early content. You know, I have this, for people who follow me on social media, I have what I call the Castellani Vault, which is like a deep cut of all videos I did when I was like between the ages of 12 and 17. And I've posted a few of them, and I'll get responses of people being like, hey man, these are actually really good. And I say, you don't understand. I'm posting the top 1%. There's 99% of unusable footage of me talking into a camera that isn't turned on, stuff like that, that like people don't need to see. But you learn. I do appreciate that. I'm glad you mentioned it, because one thing that's cool is that all that stuff is documented. So you see progression over time. And you said you weren't a content creator, but one thing I found interesting watching, you know, a lot of this footage is like the actual artistry that goes into these dances and the performing is like legitimately impressive. So I was curious, like, did you have any sort of performative or musical theater background before you took this gig?
So funny enough, back in, I think it was, I'm going to butcher this, but it might've been 2011. For about 2.5 years or so, I did some acting here and there. It was like, I think I had 2 indie films, where I had like a small speaking part of something. So I think that's kind of actually helped me when it's come to the lip syncing and all that stuff. Cause so there are times where it'll be on the spot where they'll come to us. We have our entertainment meeting every day for a game day at 1 p.m. And they'll go over, okay, so-and-so is hitting in the 5 hole and you've got to walk up your second at bat. And it's to like Salt Lake City. I did Sweater Weather by the Neighborhood,
Yeah.
and they're like learn from 0 seconds through the first chorus, and then we're gonna walk through what the choreographing is going to be as you're walking from the bullpen mound to home plate, and what's going to happen along the way as you're lip syncing. So I think all that stuff in the past of like learning lines, even though that was for 2 years or so, I think that definitely has helped me with the process of learning those lyrics on the spot. I mean, you'll see guys too, and I'm one of them where one of our guys here, Dalton Ponce, he'll get at me a little bit sometimes because he could tell when I have like a pretty long and extensive walk up that I have to learn lyrics for, because it'll be BP before VIB, after VIB, like before the game. If I'm throwing in the outfield, I'll just have my AirPods in, just listening to these lyrics over and over and over and over again. Because in my opinion now, it's so cool. I was actually having this conversation the other day with one of the Bananas pitchers, Ryan Kellogg, where you're more now than just like a batting average, a number, so to speak. So if say let's say a Friday game, my hands are feeling slow, body's not feeling good, long travel day the day before, I can just tell like swing's not feeling too great. I'm not seeing the ball very well. Let's say I'm like 0 for 2 going into that third at bat. But that third AB, I've got like an extensive walk up. I'm going to crush that walk up. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to nail that. And I'm going to make sure that I prepare myself to nail that, because if today game is done and I'm 0 for 3, I'm going to know that I went back and I crushed that walk up. So at least that I gave something to the show. Like I have something to give that's more than just me hitting like a single through the 6 hole or something like that. Like me going 1 for 3. I have something more to give to the show than just being a ball player, which is really cool for me to like step back and look at.
Yeah, you're an entertainer. I mean, that's a huge part of it. And I think one thing that it's very clear that people have responded to, I mean, the crowds at these things is really cool. I mean, and baseball players and, major league players talk about like, man, we just get up for when the crowds are there. And it seems like people have really responded to it. You mentioned that like you were told in Salt Lake City that you were doing the walk up to Sweater Weather by the Neighborhood. How early or late, like how far in advance do you find out, hey, this is what your role is for tonight, or this is your walk up?
So sometimes it's earlier than others. So my first big walk up, actually it was the first really big one. My first walk up of the year was Toby Keith Red Solo Cup. That was in Tampa for our opening weekend. And that was one where like Toby Keith had just passed. So there was a lot of weight on this one. And so they sent me it, I think it was a day and a half or so ahead of time, leading up to that game. But Houston, I did Celine Dion, and that was a huge entertainment piece. That was like the big moment for us for that show. So they sent me that. We played Saturday night at 7 p.m. I think I got sent that. We traveled out Thursday. It was Thursday morning. So Thursday morning, I got sent that, and they're like, hey, same thing. Learn from this line through this line. And so that when we go to rehearsal, because the MLB parks, we have very limited rehearsal time. Because it's in and out. Like we don't want to be on that grass for too long because they're all in season playing. So we're in and out. So they want us to make sure that when we're getting on that field, we know all the lyrics and everything so that we can just go over choreographing, and it's quick and efficient. But that one was like 2 days ahead of time. Sweater Weather, that was sent to me the morning of at like, I think 9:30 in the morning or something like that. So I had about 3.5 hours until rehearsal to go over those lyrics. I'd also known that song too. So there are some times where you get lucky and the walk up that you're doing, you actually know the song too. So that's been good. But yeah, a lot of the time it is the day of. Like they'll send it to you in the morning.
What's the hardest song that you've like had trouble kind of nailing the lyrics for?
It's a good question, actually. I think it was honestly probably Sabrina Carpenter. Okay. I did Espresso, but they did it so there are times where for our walk-ups, because like obviously there are some lines that are kind of sketchy for the show,
right?
With the audience there, so we'll have to cut it up. So I think after 4 or 5 lines when I walked down. That was in Vegas that I did that. After I walked down and I stepped onto the field, the next bit of lines were not how the song flowed. It was like 30 seconds later. So you'll be sitting there and I'm trying to walk through it before we do rehearsal, and I'll go up to the seat and walk down with the cadence that I would in the game. But you're listening to it and then you have to pause, shift the lines up and down, and find where it like picks up, and then you go from there. So I think that was probably the toughest because there was a big cut to a different part of the song. But yeah, I think that one, or just Toby Keith, the Red Solo Cup one, because that was my first one. So I think that was more so nerves because I just didn't. I was tweaking about that one because I just wanted to just nail that one.
And that one too has so much like regular talking in it that's kind of hard to pick up on the cadence of like music. So that, I can imagine that being kind of tough for sure. I guess I probably should have let off with this question, but as I said, there's the videos have gone viral, and you brought up the Celine Dion one. That was the first time I saw you. Was that was one of your more popular bits? I guess to the layman out there, how would you explain the world of Banana Ball to people who might be trying to get into it or maybe aren't familiar with it?
It's tough because there's so much that goes on with it, but we've gotten described by people as like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. But if you ask anybody here, like, because of the fact that none of our games are scripted, like we're going out there every game trying to just beat the brakes off the Bananas. Just truth be told, like we're trying to beat them every single game. Where like those games were all scripted. So I would say the creativity and the stuff that we're trying to do is similar, but I like thinking of it, it's like a mix between them, WWE. I think WWE is a big inspiration for us as well, for what we do and the entertainment that goes behind it, the rehearsing that goes behind it. But the biggest thing is that I always tell fans when they ask, they're like, is this thing scripted? It's no. Like most of us have played some form of professional baseball, and we are trying to win. But at the end of the day, we have the personalities where no matter what happens in that game, like we're going to be a little upset, but we're going to be there for the fans, and we're going to try to put on the best show possible. We're going to try to nail our entertainment. We're going to try to get them involved. You'll see throughout our games, guys that aren't playing, they're not just sitting on the sideline. We're in the stands. We're up in the suites at certain ballparks. We're down the line signing autographs, talking to kids. We're hanging out with people. I think that's such a different. I mean, nobody else is really doing that. Nobody else is. Where you can sit there and a guy that caught 9 innings last night, you're hanging out with him, watching the game with him, just talking while that next day game is going on. If you come back. So there's just so much that goes into it. And I always harp to fans, like we are trying to put on the best show and play the best baseball possible for them and make it as entertaining as we can.
Yeah. And I mean, I think you guys do that. There's so many moving parts to it, even more so than there is in a regular baseball game. Cause like you said, you guys got up in the stands, you got people with the walk-ups. Does it ever become difficult to focus on, like, if it's a late and close game, is it difficult to kind of lock into an at-bat with the amount of things that are going on throughout the game?
As you go on throughout the season, so this is my first year, but I've kind of gotten used to it at this point. I think the hardest thing is low. So let's say I have a walk up and I'm going to be third up that inning, but I'm going up. So if I'm up third that inning, when that inning starts, I'm walking to the stands with our entertainment person who's got the camera, and I'm getting in my spot, getting ready, like preparing, kind of going through in my mind, just thinking about like the rehearsal part of it. So while that's happening, I kind of have to look every once in a while to see what's going on baseball wise, just for situation based. Cause once that walk up starts, you can ask a lot of our guys, you kind of just black out.
Yeah.
Like you go back in your mode, like you're rehearsing, you have your lines, whatever choreographed stuff, the dance that's going into it. But once you step in that box, that pitcher's going. And most of the time, like that first pitch, that's the one you want to hit. So you've got to be paying attention, like right before that walk-up starts. It's like, okay, Swan just got on first. DC just got out. So like I'm going to try to do a job. Like, I'm going to nail this walk up, but I'm going to also try to do a job. So I think that's the toughest part of it is that second right before the walk up happens. You have to lock in and notice what you're about to do and like what your goal is as a hitter. But other than that, I think it's just something you learn over time. A lot of this is just a learning curve that you just have to do it to learn throughout the season.
Was there a point throughout your first year where you felt like, okay, I feel like I'm acclimated to this now, where you feel as though you settled into that world?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was honestly, I'm trying to think, like Louisville was in August, but it was a lot. It was before that I felt pretty good about it. I would say honestly after April or May, I felt good, and then we did our own headlining tour, and that was where I felt so comfortable doing that. It felt great being like the home team. I was like, man, this is what the Bananas feel like all the time. This is awesome. Like everyone's cheering for you. Like this is sick. But I probably like after April or May, I got used to it. I got used to the cadence, the travel, the getting the body right those days. Cause like I said, we have game at 7:05, but we have entertainment at 1:00 sharp. So it's just getting into that rhythm, and guys that have played pro ball or like high level college ball, which pretty much everybody here has, you get into those rhythms and you have what you like to do on game days and everything else. So I think it's pretty easy to catch on. And I think everybody has found their system here that works. Each guy has their own system of how they like doing things, but it probably took a couple months. But after this now, it just feels like it feels like it's just going and going in a good rhythm.
It seems like one of the best things about the sport of baseball over the last several years is that, I mean, I speak as somebody who's always loved it, but it seems like the game has developed such more of a personality, and that they've allowed the players to develop more of a personality. And I think part of that is the rule changes have definitely helped. I mean, watching major league games, and they've kind of picked up piecemeal different ideas from different independent leagues and the minor leagues, and they've implemented them. I'm just curious, are there any rules in Banana Land that you feel like could translate if they made them part of Major League Baseball?
I mean, coming from some long games in my college days, those Tuesday midweeks, those Wednesday midweek games, where those two teams are just grinding out. You're on game 45, but you're playing a midweek game just for almost nothing. That 2-hour time limit. Oh, I love that 2-hour time limit. My favorite rule here too. It sucks when it happens to you, because it happened to me at Fenway actually. But the fan caught foul ball. That's one of my favorite rules ever. It's great when it happens for us. Against us, I hate it. But when it happens for us, there's nothing like crazier, in my opinion, when it comes to the fans being involved in our game than when some 45-year-old dad sticks up an old ball glove that I just picked up out of the garage and just no look catches a ball back here. But he just ended the inning, not even knowing that he made such a big difference. Like, that part is so sick to me to this day still.
So just for people who might not know, the rule is that if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. Has that happened to you where you've had an out recorded against you because the fans caught a foul ball?
Yeah. So Fenway Park. Fenway Park. I went in to hit the seventh inning. And it was the world's fastest inning. So you got to be ready to go. Like, head up at all times. You foul one off, like, you get your time to take a second and collect your thoughts. But I think I went down 0-1, and then ball just looked like it was 105 that day. Just did not ball just looked like it was coming so fast at me, and laid on a fastball. And those nets there, I kid you not, they have to be 10 feet tall. There's nothing there. And it just squeaks over that net right over the first base dugout. And like I said, I just saw some dad just put up his arm, goes right in the glove, and I'm just sitting there in the box like, oh, it so hurts to this day. You could tell, but yeah.
He did have a glove though. He didn't do it barehanded.
Yeah, it was a glove. That makes, yeah. I mean, the bare hand one, it's just kind of like game respect game. When I see a guy just stick one with the bare hand, I'm like, good for you. I guess
tip your cap.
Just good hands. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just good ball security. So.
Yeah. No, that's That's funny, and I'm sure that for the fans, that's such an interactive thing. Because even at a major league game, if a fan catches a foul ball, people are like, it gets on the broadcast. For it to be an actual part of the baseball game, I think is really cool. With this league, and I've with what I've looked into, I mean, it's obviously grown in popularity, and you see it grow viral. But I've seen, at least on the internet, which is not always the nicest place in the world, some kind of backlash in the sense that there are baseball purists out there who believe that this kind of stuff is like making a mockery of what the game should be, or it's going against the kind of traditional values, might not be the right word, but the traditional way that the game is played. I guess just as somebody who is so enthusiastic about that world and has enjoyed being a part of that world for a while now, what would your response to those kind of criticisms be?
I think everyone's entitled to their own opinion. I mean, we live in a world where that's going to happen. Like social media is that thing where you can go on and comment anything you want. And I think that's what our guys have such a great, it's such a great personality trait, is that we don't take many things to heart. We take criticism very well. We know that this isn't for everybody, and it's letting our personality shine. But I think the coolest thing for me is when we get done with a game, and for those that don't know, we do a post-game plaza party after every game, where we go out, game's done, we go out into the plaza, or sometimes we've done it on the field. It just depends on logistics of the stadiums, but we'll go out, sign autographs, talk, take pictures with the fans, and just watch us play for about 45, 50 minutes. And hearing somebody come up and say, hey, I'm a baseball purist, but that was awesome. And it was so cool seeing how much you guys engaged with all of us in the stands, how much fun you guys were having, and you guys played great baseball. But there have been some people where my roommate, actually, Ethan Skuja, I think he's got records in the Czech league. He was the MVP in a Japanese winter league. He's a pitcher, and I mean, he's throwing mid nines. Yeah. Like with good stuff too. And we'll have guys after games are done, like, those guys were throwing well, good stuff. And you guys have some great hitters and great swings. I'm like, we're all trying, and we work at our craft every single day. So we know that those comments are going to happen, and you're never going to please everybody. But if a game gets done and a baseball purist can look at what we do and respect that we're out there trying our best, and we're trying to put on a great show and a great game and play clean ball for those people, then we did our job.
And I think that's a great response. And in fairness, the comments that I'm alluding to is a small minority of what I've read, even on the internet. I mean, that now, of course, as is typically the case, the smallest minority often makes the most noise. But in general, what I see from you guys, I mean, it's overwhelmingly well received and positive. And I think the fact, look, you got a crazy number of people that are going to these games. It's clear that it's connecting with an audience. And I think for families as well, who maybe get bored by a regular Major League Baseball game, like, I think it's a great way just to get people into the sport in some capacity, or at least the entertainment part of it. You mentioned Fenway Park a while ago. Is that the coolest environment that you've had the opportunity to play in since you started this, or is there another one that comes to mind?
No, I think Fenway was, at least, I want to put it up in top three. I mean, those MLB parks are so crazy to me that it's tough to say which one is like the coolest. Because Cleveland, seeing Kipnis, I actually got to face Kluber. I got to face Kluber there. Yeah, I got to face Kluber. I flew out to the track on him. Nice. I flew out to the left center track on him. He had some run. Still.
That sinker still moves. Yeah.
Oh, it was moving. Yeah. I was on the plate a little bit, but that thing was going in. But Fenway, I think, it's so historic. And just, I got to play left 5 through 9 there, and just sitting there thinking, like, how many people have played in this exact spot, or us sitting in that visitor's locker room, like, how many people have been in this chair who I've shared this with. I think it's more of the perspective part that's so cool about a place like that. But Minute Maid's so special. It was that first MLB park. Cleveland got to see Kipnis finally get that standing ovation that he so rightfully deserved. Which, I mean, he was tearing up, and he was so thankful for us. He actually had us at his restaurant after that game was done. Such a good dude. But it's it's tough to put any of those at the very top. All of them have just such great significance. And I mean, even the minor league parks too, there really hasn't been many places so far this year that I've disliked at all.
For sure. Yeah, there's definitely a charm to minor league parks. Ben, I'm glad you brought up
Yeah.
Cleveland because I've always found that maybe it's just because I'm a Tiger fan and it's in division opponent. I always found Progressive to be an underrated park. I like it quite a bit. Good sight lines. Like I like, it's right in the heart of downtown Cleveland. I think it's really cool. But yeah, I think that's the point you bring up about perspective is very neat because I think the example that I often use is it's kind of like watching a TV show, then you become a character in the show. Like you've seen people play left field at Fenway your entire life. You've seen people play the outfield at Progressive. Now you have the view that say, Manny Ramirez had at one point or some other great players had at one point. So it's got to be kind of an overwhelming thing, but a very cool thing. I was looking at some of your background and some of the stuff that you do. And I noticed that you volunteered at a lot of charity stuff, some stuff in Cincinnati, the Down Syndrome Buddy Walk, a breast cancer awareness walk. I guess for you, was the idea of giving back or helping out with charity stuff something that has become more important to you over time, like since you became a part of this, or is it something that's always been near and dear to your heart?
I mean, it's always been near and dear to me. I'll shout out Dizzy Payton. He was my head coach for the past 2 years at Northern Kentucky, and Todd Aslan too is my previous head coach. And that whole organization, that baseball team, they love giving back. And the city of Cincinnati is so great at that too. They hold so many events. That Riverfront Park right by the Red Stadium, they're always holding the Down syndrome buddy walk, breast cancer walks, everything. So that city also breeds so many great organizations to come and show love, which is great, and it gives us the opportunity too. But I think that just fed into here, and our organization does such an amazing job getting us linked up with opportunities to go give back and spread joy. So far, my favorite thing we've done so far, I think, was we built a playground with a Rock Solid Foundation, and little kid Luke. We walked him around the stadium while we were all building the play. While the people were building the play set, me and my teammate Jordan Hussein, and I gave Luke a pair of my batting gloves, and he put them on and legitimately did not take them off the rest of the day. And it was days after that I got more pictures from somebody in our organization who was still in contact with the family that he still was like wearing the batting gloves around the house. And it's little stuff like that where you do something little for someone, but you don't realize how big of an impact it has. And it's just those compounding little moments that we've gotten the chance to do throughout the season that it's filling buckets for me. That's how I look at it. Yeah. It's like, that's a bucket that I love to fill, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens, baseball wise, like social media wise, nothing else, just like what I believe in as a person and what I want to give back to, and what fills up my bucket internally, I'm good if I can do that.
Yeah. And it's such, the point you make about like kindness and how long that carries with you is so true. And I think especially when you are a performer or an athlete, there's such a mystique that you have that I think often, especially kids, look at it as like kind of you are bigger than life. I remember the example that I always use personally is that this is a dumb story, but when I was 12, I was at a Pistons playoff game, and I ran into Anthony Anderson, the main actor on Blackish, and he was in Transformers and The Departed and stuff. And he was super nice. And now I'm 29, 17 years later, I still tell that story being like, hey, that's my dude. Like that stuff sticks with you. It's important, the way that you treat people. So that's awesome to hear. I guess for you, look, it seems like you're thriving in this league. It seems like things are going very well for you. You're getting the YouTube page off the ground, which we'll link to in this video. But I guess for where you're at right now in your life and career, what's your ultimate goal? Do you see yourself doing this for a long time? Is there something beyond baseball that you're looking at doing? What's inside the world of Noah Fisher right now?
Honestly, I love just being where my feet are. I think right now my goals in life are being a good boyfriend, a good teammate, a good son. I'm gonna show up every day and put in the work and try to come up with new ideas. And I'm gonna still push my content. I invested in cameras, mics. I mean, I've invested in a lot of stuff for small brand stuff. But I mean, I'm just trying to grow a little bit better every single day and show up and, like I said, be the best person that I can be. And whatever happens, happens. I would love to do this for as long as I can. You can ask people in the organization that I love showing up every single day, and I love being there, and I love what we do. So as long as I can do it for, I'm going to do it for. And thankfully, I've got such a great support system that as much as it is a sacrifice being away from loved ones and girlfriend and everything else, they support that. Baseball is not for everything, obviously. But as long as I can do this and give back to the game and to these fans, I'm going to do it for sure.
How old are you now?
24.
24, man. That's a good perspective to have, man, at the age of 24. I'll tell you, because you're right, man. I mean, especially, and all baseball players are open about that. I mean, you have a finite amount of time in which you are in your athletic prime to be able to play this game. And so to have that perspective, I think it's wonderful to hear. This is going to be my last question. And I'm gonna be interested to see kind of what the back and forth is like, because I feel like we might come up with some interesting answers. But who is a current modern MLB player whose personality you feel like would translate perfectly if they wanted to be a part of the Party Animals and be a part of that league?
Jazz Chisholm.
Good pick. Yes. Yeah. I take it. Obviously, you're a Tiger fan. You watched that Little League game where he was all in the stands. That's a really good because he's a natural entertainer.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, him or honestly like a Jock Peterson. I could see in this too. Like big personality. I mean, there's a couple guys that I mean, it's been cool because the MLB players that have come through. You always wonder how they're going to be when they show up. Obviously, if they're coming and they're playing and they're agreeing to it, like they're bought into it. But then you talk to them and they're so enthusiastic about all this, which is so cool. Like I recently, a big highlight, I felt bad in the moment, but then I saw an interview that he did and it was cool. His perspective on it, but I hit an absolute nuke off Brett Young, whose music I've listened to for years and years and years and years. Yeah. But seeing his interview afterwards of like how thankful he was in his age to get back on the mound and do this kind of stuff. That's what's so cool to me is seeing those MLB guys that are either out of the game or are freshly out or been out for a while that are getting the chance to come back and taking at bat. Like Mitch Moreland had a beautiful swing at Fenway. Yeah. He hit like a backside liner to me. And I was like, that was unreal. Like that was pretty. But seeing these guys, I got to face Roger Clemens and Minute Maid. Seeing these guys get back out there and have that moment of competitiveness and see them shine, but in a different environment is like, it's so cool to me to see. So cool.
Yeah. I mean, that was going to be my last question, but I got to ask, man, what kind of stuff was Clemens featuring when you faced him? I mean, he's got to be in his 60s at this point. So I'm just wondering, I bring it up because there was, I think 4 or 5 years ago, he played at a University of Texas alumni game and it looked like he was like, could still pitch. So what was that experience like?
I think it was an off day for him. I mean,
oh really?
He struggled. Yeah. I think he walked me on 4 pitches. Like I was going to swing it anything close, but he walked me on 4 pitches. The guy that had stuff that day, Roy Oswalt, he came out.
Oh, really?
And had like the black like cloak on and everything. He was spinning it. Like our guys that faced him, they're like, dude, he had like a little curveball, a little slider that was actually moving pretty well. So there have been, like I said, Kluber too. Like he still had velo. I mean, there are guys that we face that they're still putting swings out there and throwing the ball. So I think that part's really cool is seeing those guys get on the mound, and even though it's in our environment, like they still got it.
They can still feature it. Yeah. Underrated 2000s rotation there with Clemens and Oswalt and Andy Pettit was a part of that when they made it to the World Series in 2005. So, hey, look, man, I really appreciate you doing this. I hope that, this outlet can, promote your guys' brand a little bit in your league because I've been fascinated by it. And I was excited when Austin reached out and said that he had booked you guys for an interview. By all accounts, you seem like an awesome dude, and obviously you have good taste because you're a Tiger fan. So that means you've won won a lot of points amongst this fan base. We'll make sure to link to all your stuff, your socials, and your YouTube channel, which I know you're trying to grow, in the description for this as well. So Noah, man, really appreciate it, and thanks for being a part of Chris and Company.
Of course, it's been awesome. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks so much to Noah for joining the program. I hope that people can come away from that with something of an insight, because like I said, about a few years ago, I just started seeing a bunch of clips online of baseball games being played that featured guys dancing and singing and performing. And I just felt like it seemed like a completely different world. And so it was interesting to talk to him. Really nice guy. And, I wish all the best for him in the future. I mean, it seems like he's got it figured out. I mean, the guy's going nuts on TikTok and everything. And I checked out his YouTube page. I'm sure that'll grow pretty quickly as well. A lot of appeal to that league for sure. And as we talked about, like, there's a lot of different ways to grow the game of baseball. And I think there's so many different leagues out there. The game is constantly evolving. And even if it's not your cup of tea, it is somebody's cup of tea. And I think it does make the world of baseball a heck of a lot more fun and a heck of a lot better. And if it bothers you, then I don't know, go talk to a wall. All right. That will do it for today's show. You can find me on Twitter at Castellani 2014. You can find this show on Apple Podcasts. You can find it on Spotify. Make sure to leave us a like, leave us a review, 5 stars. Let us know that you appreciate what we're doing. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to this channel, share this content with your friends. Let us know what you think about this. Where can we improve? And, beyond that, what's the next step? Who do you want to see on this show? Well, I'll let you know next week. Nick Gillard is the man that we're going to be interviewing. Austin got this interview, and we have already recorded this one. I'm very proud of it, but Nick is the fight choreographer for a lot of different movies, but mainly he's known for being the fight choreographer for the Star Wars prequels. And so if you are a fan of cinema, if you're a fan of those fight scenes, and if you're a fan of Star Wars, I definitely recommend this one, because we came away from it getting a lot of cool information about the making of those movies, but a lot of stuff, kind of behind the scenes stuff about Star Wars that sorry, my phone just went off. I set an alarm. My apologies. All right, well, I'm not going to cut that. Really cool information about the Star Wars prequels as a whole that you might have not have known. So a bit of a different audience perhaps might enjoy it, but I hope that you can at least get something out of it, because again, we continue to work our hardest to put out the best product possible. So thank you very much to everyone for listening. You guys mean the world. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day. Peace and happiness.
It's an unfair game. We got to think differently.